showed up. Just a small mistake. But when they shoved him and his arm snapped on the concrete, I knew I couldn't let this slide. My cousins, all U.S. Army vets, came home for one thing: revenge. But trust me, it wasn't just about payback. It was about taking down people who thought they could push others around. This is the real story of how we turn the tables. So, what would you do if someone hurt your family over a ridiculous rule? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. The peace of our neighborhood shattered the moment Catherine moved in. I was standing in the driveway when she showed up, pointing at Grandpa's truck, accusing him of parking wrong in his own garage. I knew this wasn't going to end well. I'm Josh, 25 years old, living with my grandpa Frank, in a suburban Texas neighborhood that used to be peaceful. Used to be. Grandpa Frank is a retired Air Force veteran, 70 years old, but still tough as nails, and keeps our house so immaculate you could eat off the sidewalk. Catherine, 50 years old, with bleached blonde hair like a Barbie doll, but the personality of a witch who had been denied her morning coffee for a week straight. She claimed to be the president of our homeowners association and had two men always following her around like lost puppies. Randy, a big guy who seemed uncomfortable with the whole thing, constantly shifting his weight like he'd rather be anywhere else. And Bob, who didn't appear to be the sharpest tool in the shed, always nodding along to whatever Catherine said, like a bobblehead doll. All three called themselves HOA enforcement officers. Looking back, I should have known right then that something was seriously wrong with this whole setup. Catherine created insane regulations that made zero sense to anyone with half a brain. Grass couldn't be taller than 2 in, which meant you had to mow every other day during growing season. Trash cans had to be placed exactly 18 inches from the sidewalk, measured with an actual ruler she carried around like some kind of sidewalk dictator. Cars couldn't be parked in your own driveway for more than 6 consecutive hours, which I still don't understand because who times their own parking? House paint colors had to be chosen from only 7 approved colors, all variations of beige that looked like different shades of depression. Every neighbor was terrified of her because she could fine people up to $500 for each violation. I wasn't sure if I was overreacting when I first heard about these rules, but $500 for parking in your own driveway for 7 hours instead of 6. That can't be right, can it? The whole neighborhood walked on eggshells around her. And honestly, I was starting to think, maybe we should just ignore her completely. Maybe I should have just minded my own business. I don't know. But watching people live in fear in their own homes didn't sit right with me. Catherine appeared with Randy and Bob, accusing Grandpa of parking wrong in his own garage. Her voice was high-pitched, as though she had all the power in the world. She pointed at Grandpa Frank's truck, which was perfectly legally parked in our garage with maybe 2 in of the front bumper visible past the garage door line. The front tire of your truck is touching the public sidewalk. This is a serious violation of HA Code Section 12-3. Seriously, did she really say that out loud? I actually had to stop and stare at her after that one because the audacity was breathtaking. I snapped back at her. Your so-called rules don't apply here, Catherine, and you have no right to come into my garage. Grandpa Frank stepped outside, calmly explaining in that patient voice he uses when he's trying not to lose his temper. My truck is parked in my own garage. There's nothing wrong with it. Catherine's face turned red like a tomato that had been left in the sun too long. Don't argue with me. I'm the HA president. She turned to Randy with this look that could have melted steel. Handle this. Randy looked at Grandpa Frank, seeming reluctant to cause trouble with an elderly man who clearly wasn't doing anything wrong. Sir, could you maybe back the truck up a little bit? Looking back, I still can't believe I didn't step in right then. I already told you the truck is parked correctly, Grandpa Frank repeated, and I could hear that edge creeping into his voice. That meant his patience was running out fast. Catherine gritted her teeth like she was trying to crack walnuts with her jaw. Randy, I said, handle this. Get him out of here. My legs felt like stone. I couldn't move, couldn't process what was happening. Was this real? Did she really just send her goons after my grandfather over this? Randy hesitated for maybe 3 seconds, looking between Catherine and Grandpa Frank. But under Catherine's pressure and probably the promise of his $200 monthly paycheck, he shoved Grandpa Frank hard in the chest. My 70-year-old grandfather couldn't keep his balance and crashed backward into the concrete wall of our garage. The sickening crack of breaking bone echoed so clearly, I can still hear it when I close my eyes. Grandpa Frank collapsed onto the driveway, clutching his arm and making this sound I'd never heard him make before. This quiet whimpering that broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. Catherine and her 2 goons panicked faster than cockroaches when the lights come on and quickly fled the scene without checking if Grandpa was okay or calling for help. I immediately called 911, my hands shaking so bad I could barely hit the right numbers. While waiting for the paramedics, Grandpa Frank lay on the ground, his face pale with pain, but still trying to be the strong one. "Son, don't do anything reckless." Even with a broken arm, he was trying to protect me from making a mistake I'd regret. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed Grandpa had a broken arm and would need a cast for 6 weeks. As I sat beside his hospital bed, watching my grandfather lying there helplessly with machines beeping around him, a rage like I'd never felt before surged through me. Not explosive anger, but cold, calculating fury that settled into my bones like winter. In that moment, I wasn't sure if I was overreacting or if this was the beginning of something much worse. But one thing was clear. Catherine had just crossed a line. But it wasn't just the assault that angered me. That night, Catherine sent a text message. This is what happens when you don't respect authority. I held my phone shaking, already planning my next move. It was war now, and I wasn't backing down. I dialed my cousin's number with fingers that were still shaking from rage. "Grayson, I need you in Texas. Someone hurt Grandpa Frank." When I hung up, I looked out the window and saw Catherine standing by her car across the street, smiling smugly, toward the hospital like she just won some kind of victory. 3 days later, my cousins from Fort Hood arrived, Grayson, Finn, and Phoenix, each one carrying the weight of years of military experience. Grayson barely finished the footage before he was on the phone, already making calls to get more intel. "We move fast," he said. "This is personal now." Grayson, 30 years old, is a staff sergeant with 10 years of military experience and the kind of calm intensity that makes you understand why people follow his orders without question. Finn, 28 years old, is a specialist in communications and technology who can make computers do things I didn't even know were possible. Phoenix, 26 years old, has a background in psychological operations and this way of looking at people like he can see straight through their lies to whatever they're trying to hide. They weren't violent men, but they had one unbreakable rule that had gotten them through deployments in Afghanistan and family gatherings in Texas. Family first always. When they saw Grandpa Frank with his arm in a cast, sitting in his favorite chair, but looking smaller somehow, nobody said a word for a long minute. But I could see how they clenched their jaws, how they exchanged those looks that said everything without saying anything. These were men who had fought actual enemies overseas, and they wouldn't let anyone touch their family without consequences. I wasn't sure if I should feel relieved or terrified, but honestly, having an army behind me felt better than facing Catherine alone. The atmosphere in the room shifted from grief to something much more dangerous. Suddenly, I wasn't the helpless guy I'd been when Grandpa was hurt. I was someone who had an army behind him, and revenge tasted sweeter than I ever imagined. Grayson watched the footage, his face growing darker with each replay, while Finn hacked into Catherine's communications, pulling up her every move. Clear assault and battery in Texas, attacking someone over 65 automatically makes this a felony, carrying 2 to 20 years in prison. The way he said it, calm and factual, made it sound like Catherine had just signed her own death warrant. Finn paused, eyes wide. "Grayson, you're not going to believe this. Catherine isn't the president. She's been forging signatures." Just like that, our plan went from petty revenge to something much, much bigger. We all turned to look at Finn because that didn't make sense at the time. How could she not be the president when she'd been acting like she owned the entire neighborhood? She's just a board member who has been forging the president's signature on all these violation notices. Phoenix nodded with this satisfied smile. That probably meant bad news for Catherine. So, we have assault fraud and impersonating an official. But if we just go straight to court, they might get plea deals and light sentences. Looking back, I should have known they were planning something bigger than just filing a police report. These guys didn't do anything halfway. Grayson's voice was firm, but Phoenix shook his head. The law moves too slow. If we want Catherine to feel the heat, we need to bring the heat. Finn shook his head like he was rejecting a bad military plan. No offense, bro, but the law moves slow. These people need to understand what they've done. I say we make them sweat first. Phoenix agreed, with that calculating look in his eyes. Psychological pressure first. Make them turn on each other, then hit them with legal action when they're weak. Listening to them debate strategy like they were planning a military operation. For the first time since Grandpa got hurt, I didn't feel powerless anymore. Having an army behind me changed everything, and I could feel my confidence coming back like blood flowing back into a limb that had been numb. Grayson finally nodded after considering all the angles. Fine, we do this smart. 3 phases: intelligence gathering, psychological, operations, and legal execution. I'm not even sure why, but hearing them use military terminology to plan Catherine's downfall felt incredibly satisfying. Maybe it was because they treated this with the same seriousness they'd give an actual enemy threat. Finn opened his laptop and started pulling up screens I couldn't even identify. Phase 1. I'll hack into their communications, find out who's really in charge, what their weaknesses are, Phoenix said with that smile. That meant someone was about to have a very bad day. Phase 2. I'll create psychological pressure. Make them paranoid, make them question each other. Grayson concluded like he was briefing a mission. Phase 3. When they're fractured and vulnerable, we hit them with everything we've got legally. I looked at my 3 cousins planning Catherine's destruction with military precision, and for the first time in days, I smiled. What do you need me to do? Grayson looked at me with the kind of respect he usually reserved for fellow soldiers. You stay clean. We handle the dirty work. When this is over, you'll have justice, and your conscience will be clear. Maybe I should have felt bad about what we were planning. I don't know. But watching Catherine hurt Grandpa Frank had burned away any sympathy I might have had for her. Finn had already started working his fingers flying across the keyboard like he was defusing a bomb. Catherine's been embezzling HOA funds to pay Randy and Bob $200 each per month to play fake cops. She's also been forging documents for 6 months. Phoenix leaned toward the screen with professional interest. Perfect. Greed and deception. Those are psychological pressure points we can exploit. It didn't make sense at the time how excited he seemed about Catherine's crimes, but I was starting to understand that my cousin saw this as more than just family revenge. This was about stopping a bully who had been hurting innocent people for months. Grayson stood up with that command presence that made you want to salute even when you were in civilian clothes. Gentlemen, Catherine wanted to play authority figure. Let's show her what real authority looks like. Grayson paused, then leaned forward with that cold, calculating look he always had before a mission. We're doing this smart. We hit them where it hurts the most. They won't see us coming. Finn hacked into their system and sent out absurd new rules that had the whole neighborhood questioning Catherine's sanity. Suddenly, she wasn't the boss anymore. New HOA regulations effective immediately. All residents must walk counterclockwise when entering or leaving the neighborhood. Green decorations are banned as they disrupt community fun. Trash cans must be rotated exactly 45 degrees at 6 a.m. daily. I actually had to stop and stare at him after he sent that because the rules were so ridiculous. I couldn't believe anyone would take them seriously. The chaos erupted so fast that Catherine didn't know where to turn. Neighbors were already sending her angry texts. and she called the police. But none of them could stop the storm we'd unleashed. Neighbors started calling Catherine's phone non-stop. What the hell are these new rules? Walk counterclockwise. Are you insane? Catherine was completely confused because she had no idea where these emails were coming from. I didn't send any new rules. I don't know what you're talking about, but the email was sent from the official HOA account with a signature that looked identical to hers, so nobody believed her denials. I wasn't sure if I should feel guilty about the confusion we were causing, but watching Catherine scramble to explain rules she didn't create felt like the first taste of justice we'd gotten since Grandpa's arm got broken. The irony was perfect, because she'd been making up fake rules for months. The moment Catherine realized she was losing control, she called in a private investigator. But she didn't know we were already 5 steps ahead. Her every move was being tracked. Catherine's calm facade cracked as the neighborhood bombarded her with complaints about the fake rules. The power she'd so carefully built was slipping, and I could feel the satisfaction building up inside me. She installed security cameras everywhere, around her house, even hired a private investigator to find out who was sabotaging her HOA authority. When neighbors complained about the crazy regulations, she became defensive and started snapping at people who had been afraid of her for months. I don't know who's doing this, but I'll find out, and when I do, they're going to pay, she called. The police 3 times in 2 days, but officers just shook their heads and told her the same thing each time. Ma'am, we can't investigate fake HOA rules. This isn't a police matter. I marched up to Catherine as she yelled at the elderly neighbor. Enough of your games, I shouted. You won't terrorize anyone else here. From my window, I watched Catherine arguing with an elderly neighbor about why she wasn't walking counterclockwise when she came back from checking her mailbox. I sipped my coffee with a slight smile appearing on my lips for the first time since this whole mess started. This wasn't the angry Josh anymore who wanted to punch someone after watching his grandfather get hurt. This was Josh watching his plan unfold with the kind of satisfaction that comes from seeing a bully finally get confused and frustrated instead of being the one doing the confusing and frustrating. Looking back, I still can't believe how quickly Catherine's confidence crumbled when she lost control of the narrative. Phoenix's message to Randy wasn't just about creating doubt. It was designed to make him believe Catherine was going to throw him under the bus. What we didn't expect was just how fast it would unravel. He sent an anonymous email to Randy that was designed to plant seeds of doubt. Catherine is planning to throw you under the bus for the assault. She's already talked to a lawyer about claiming you acted without her authorization. Watch your back. Randy panicked immediately and called Catherine, his voice tight with worry. Did you really talk to a lawyer about me? Catherine, who was already stressed about the fake rules and the investigator and the angry neighbor, snapped back without thinking. What? No. I mean, we might need legal protection if this gets worse. But if what gets worse? If you throw me under the bus like that email said you would, Randy, calm down. We're in this together. But Randy didn't calm down, and his voice got louder with each word. Are we? Because it sounds like you're already planning to blame everything on me and Bob. This was exactly the reaction Phoenix had predicted, and I had to admit, watching Catherine's fake authority team turn on each other was more satisfying than I'd expected. Maybe I should have felt bad about manipulating them. I don't know. But they'd hurt my grandfather over a parking violation. That wasn't even real. The psychological warfare was working better than anyone could have imagined. Meanwhile, Bob was having his own crisis at Murphy's bar downtown, drinking heavily and letting guilt eat him alive. He'd been going there every night since the incident, and the bartender told me later that Bob couldn't stop talking about what happened. I heard an old man for money. Catherine pays me $200 a month to pretend to be HOA security. But we're not real security. We're just bullies. The old guy's in the hospital because of me, and I can't sleep. Unfortunately for Bob, But fortunately for us, Savannah was sitting in a nearby booth and heard everything. Savannah had lived in the neighborhood for 5 years and had been one of Catherine's favorite targets because she kept her house painted yellow instead of one of the approved beige shades. She approached Bob with her phone recording, which she later told me she'd started doing automatically whenever she heard Catherine's name mentioned anywhere. My grandfather was a veteran too. You should be ashamed of yourself. Bob looked up with tears in his eyes and beer on his breath. I am ashamed. I keep seeing his face when he hit that wall, the sound his arm made when it broke. I can't get it out of my head. I wasn't sure if I should trust Bob's sudden conscience or if this was just alcohol talking, but Savannah's recording was about to change everything in ways we never expected. The next morning, Savannah knocked on our door with her phone and a look of determination I'd never seen before. Josh, I think you need to hear this. When she played Bob's confession, I heard him admit everything. The fake HOA enforcement, the monthly